my channel. If you're new, welcome! I am Nikki Renee and today is my birthday. Okay, so actually it's Monday and my birthday's on Wednesday, so it's not technically my birthday, but it's my birthday week and I'm a Leo, so that counts. So I wasn't really planning on doing anything for my birthday, but then I saw Belle Therese do 26 of her all-time favorite books for her 26th birthday. And I said, oh my gosh, that's such a good idea. I'm turning 23, it's my 23rd birthday, so for my 23rd birthday, we are doing 23 of my favorite books. Let me tell you, why was this kind of hard? Here's what I've learned through this process of trying to pick out 23 books as my favorite books. I need to read more. Why was I going through like, wait, which books have I actually read? So naturally, there were some criteria. 1, I have to have read the book. 2, it does not matter if it's the first of the series or in the middle of the series, whatever. Whichever book calls to me more. 3, it does not have to be necessarily a 5-star. I think most of them are 5 stars, but that was not a defining criteria. It was just a book that I read and has stuck with me. And specifically, I wanted to choose books that gave me a positive impact for my mood, for how I enjoyed the story, just something that has stuck with me that is positive. So I've got 23 books here, plus 2 honorable mentions because why am I the worst at choosing? Why am I the worst at picking stuff out? Why am I so indecisive? Genuinely, I had all 23 picked out until 5 minutes ago, and then I switched like 3 of them. And that's how we ended up with honorable mentions, because I wasn't going to do that either. Also, I just want to say, if you can hear the air conditioning, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. This is kind of my tester because I sort of did adjust my camera settings and it doesn't seem like the air conditioning is affecting the sound as much. So I hope beyond hope. All that rambling to be said, let's get into the actual books. I'm so excited. I picked out so many good books, I think definitely there are going to be books that are not surprising. Some books you have seen on the channel. Some books you've definitely seen me talk about, I've definitely referenced. I also just want to say, if there are any books that you're wondering, hey, I see that behind you, that was a really good book, that was my favorite book, why aren't you talking about it? I'm going to be so for real with you, 9 times out of 10 I haven't read it. I have 800 books, okay? The catalog video where I literally go through every single one with you, it's coming. I have 800 books. Y'all, I've read 200, okay? Anyway, let's start with the honorable mentions. Like I said, I have 2. I just really wanted to give them something because they have left an impact on me and I do think about them. So first off, we have I'll Give You the Sun by Jandy Nelson. If you are not familiar, this was in the summer reading vlog from last year. And I don't know if you haven't seen, maybe you have, maybe you haven't. I did not end up doing the fall reading vlog, which would have rounded out the first 4 seasonal reading vlogs and would have gotten me to the end of the Love Light series, the Love Light Farms series. Unfortunately, senior year of college kicked my butt, so that did not happen. It's coming this year, I promise. I promise, it's coming this year. And then the second honorable mention, it's an honorable mention because it just doesn't fit with the rest of the books, because I kind of really wanted to keep them to fictional novels, if you know where this is going. The next book is Dear Allie, How Do You Write a Book by Allie Carter. If you're new, hi, hello, I am Nikki. I adore Allie Carter, and I will explain why later. I love it. I've annotated it. I don't know if you can tell. I have all these tabs. I have gone through and highlighted, tabbed, I've read the things so many times. I go back to specific parts, I go back to full chapters. It is so good. It goes over things like titles, chapter titles, characters, villains, making a series, the first line in the book, all kinds of things, and I adore it. I love it so, so much. Now let's get into the actual 23 books. My favorite 23 books, my most impactful 23 books for my 23rd birthday. The first book is Love and Gelato by Jenna Evans Welch. This is the first book of her series. It's just a trilogy. So I don't know what it's actually called. I think it's just the Love and Gelato series. I call it the Love and series sometimes because I didn't know what it was called. The series contains Love and Gelato, Love and Luck, and Love and Olives. I'm gonna be so for real with you. I teetered between whether or not to do Love and Gelato or Love and Olives, but I ultimately ended up choosing Love and Gelato for this because it was the first book. So if it hadn't been for this book, I would not have read or been introduced really to Love and Olives, because unfortunately I am the kind of person that even if it's an interconnected series, I have to read the books in order. So the first book is Love and Gelato by Jenna Evans Welch. The next book, I kind of wasn't sure if I was going to add it or not, but I kept looking back at it. So I was like, you know what? Why not? And you know, I can always do this video again next year, do 24 books, and we'll add another book, but then we can also see how this changes and whether or not I decide to maybe not add another book or maybe to do another book again. So it's all up for my interpretation because it's my channel, my video, my books. I make the rules, you know? So the next book is Collide by Bal Cabra. I originally read this on Kindle and I liked it enough to buy it physically. I think this is only or at least at the time that I got it, this was only like the second ever book that I bought the physical copy of after reading it on Kindle, so that has to say something. So it's definitely so good. I have been watching as she continues with more books. I believe this was her debut and she's got 4 out now. I think the 4th of this series has just come out and I have the first 3. The other 2 are on the shelf. So I'm so excited to go get that one and to keep reading the books, because my problem here is that I get so many books and I don't read them. So I have the 3 books and all I've read is the first one. However, contrarily, for the next series, there are 4 books of it, but when I got all my books, there was only 3, so the 4th one, there might even be a 5th now, or after my time, but when it was just 3, I got all 3, I read all 3. Look at me go. This is Graceling by Kristen Cashore. I really like this. I think it's such an interesting premise where it's like people have gifts and everybody thinks that her gift is killing people ever since she was like a child. Like, that's so interesting. I was dilly-dallying, definitely going between this and Bitter Blue, but I think I just like what this does to set up the world more than what Bitter Blue does to continue the characters, if that makes sense. Okay, so this next book is actually the 3rd of the original trilogy, and I'm choosing this one for a couple of reasons over the first 2 books of the series. I do like what the other books do in terms of the plot, the characters, and all the things that we get, but I really like the 3rd one because we finally get so much of the payoff that we have been waiting for in terms of the relationships. And this is The Queen of Nothing by Holly Black. If you know, you know. The payoffs are just so good. I feel like I need to reread these because I was definitely the kind of person who was misled by all of the attention that it got online saying that it was romance or romantasy, and it's really not. These are political fantasy. But there is a romantic payoff that we especially get in the 3rd book, and I really like it. This next book is so fun. I need to reread it because, and honestly, I'm going to be so for real, a lot of these books are my favorites or impacted me because I read them when I was a teenager. Mind you, I'm only 23. This next book I read in high school. I think I was a sophomore. And I think I need to reread it and then finally finish the series because I've been thinking about it a lot and it has a lot of elements that I love. Like, I love a circus carnival situation. So if you can't tell, I have Caraval by Stephanie Garber. This is the Barnes & Noble Collector's Edition. I don't know if it's the Barnes & Noble Collector's Edition, actually. This is the Collector's Edition where it's like beautiful. Okay, it's beautiful. But I read this the first time and I loved it. Like, I genuinely was staying up until the wee hours of the morning before class. Like, I was staying up to read this until like 2 or 3 in the morning, and I had to get up at like 7 to go to class at 8. How was I doing that? I don't know. I can't do that now. Next, I have a book that I think a few people would agree with me on being their favorite of the series, and this is A Court of Mist and Fury by Sarah J. Maas. I definitely like the 2nd book for the original trilogy much more. I'm gonna be for real with you, I have not read past A Court of Wings and Ruin. I'm so sorry. I really, like, the hype around it all just kind of turns me off. I do love the books. I love the characters. My sister still really loves them. We talk about them a lot still. And I would love to get back into the series at some point. When, I'm not sure. Maybe when Sarah writes the last book. I don't know. But I just needed to take a break from this for a while because I read these before they got big. I read these before BookTok was, like, a thing. And then it got big. It was very wild. I guess I don't know how to say this eloquently. Just the way that it gets, like, all of this attention just kind of turned me off from it. But I still love and adore and cherish the series and the books, and I've kept them. And I have the original covers. This next book, oh my god, I'm so excited. You have to bully me to get me to read more of these books. But I'm so excited because I have The Love Hypothesis by Ali Hazelwood. If you don't know, I literally, like, buy all of her books, but I've only ever read The Love Hypothesis. This is my second copy. This is the special edition, I guess. It doesn't say whether it's, like, a collector's or something, but this is the special one with, like, the end pages. Shut up. But, like, she's beautiful. I read this in high school. I think the reason this has had such an impact on me is because I am pretty darn sure this was my first traditionally published introduction to adult romance and spice. And it just really left an impact on me because I love the way that the spice and the fluff, I saw somebody call it sugar. I saw somebody started on threads that they want to call romances that don't have spice sugar, so then it's sugar and spice. So I love the way that the intimate and just, like, the sweeter moments are used in this, and how we get such a good build-up and such a good representation of a relationship that's not necessarily spice heavy. Nothing wrong with that, no judgment. I just really liked that this was my first introduction, and I really liked the way that Ali Hazelwood balanced those two parts of a relationship, if that makes sense. Also, I'm really excited for the movie. Next, we have a book that has been prevalent for the past year on my channel, very specifically. You guys. I have The Witch Haven by Sasha Payton Smith. I did just reread this last year, and then I also started the second book last year, and then I finished it this year. That vlog is coming. I did finish it. I'm so excited for you to see what I thought. But this is the first book. I read this my senior year of high school specifically, and it left an impact on me for a couple of reasons. The first was that this was my senior night gift, because my family knows. Get Nikki books. So, and it was a new release, so they knew that I didn't have it. So I read this, like, basically when it came out. Loved it. It's a historical urban fantasy about witches. It's the 1910s in New York with witches and a murder mystery. It's so good. I love it. This next book is actually a recent read, which is really interesting. I don't think anything else in here I have read this year and has earned its place here. Wow. Some of them I have read last year. Like, that's wild. Okay, I have Children of Blood and Bone by Tomi Adeyemi. I am lukewarm about the movie because of her thoughts, and that's all I'm going to say and move on. I did read this earlier this year. I read this specifically for a presentation I did in my last semester of college, where I was presenting on globalization and multiculturalism in young adult literature. It was so fun. It was so fun. I had such a good time, and I was so excited to be able to just talk to people about some of my favorite books and my favorite age range. It was great, and I unexpectedly, but not negative unexpectedly, really loved this book, and I am so sad now because I want to get the rest of them, and it is my birthday, so I could, because, you know, money. Children of Blood and Bone, I really, really liked this. I think Tomi Adeyemi does such a good job of giving the typical Western fantasy novel a twist with her heritage and her culture, and I think it's done so well and so creatively, and the characters are so well done, and there is a really good romance, and I love the dynamic that she gives it because it is so complicated, but it is so good. This next book is actually on the channel also, and it's not even just this book. I read the entire duology for the first time on the channel, and it is Winterborn Home by Ali Carter. This is specifically the second book. So this is Winterborn Home for Vengeance and Valor. The first book, what? No. This is Winterborn Home for Mayhem and Mystery. The first book is Winterborn Home for Vengeance and Valor. I specifically chose to do the second book though because I really love the payoff that we get from the first book to the second book with the evolution of the characters and their relationships. The time between the books isn't a lot. It's not even like a year. I think it's genuinely like a month, if I remember right, maybe a month or two. And I think that was such a good time for all of our characters to sort of mesh with each other enough to see a difference in the relationship from book 1 to 2. And then that payoff was done really, really, really well. I loved it so much, and I absolutely wish that she would tell us what happens, because this is a middle grade. Guys, I want to know what happens to these middle grade characters, to these middle schoolers, all the way until they're adults, because, oh, I loved it so much. Next, we have another one of my favorite authors. I was not sure whether or not I wanted to do this book or the second book in the series. It's a trilogy, though, but I haven't read the third book, which is also another thing that I'm really good at, is reading every book in a series except for the last one. Why? How? I don't know. Honestly, that's a lie. It's probably because I have attachment issues. Anyway, the book is Renegades by Marissa Meyer. Like I said, I wasn't really sure if I wanted to do the first one or the second one, but it's been so long that I don't remember enough specifics between them to, not to differentiate, because I can differentiate, but enough specifics to ensure I'm choosing the one I prefer best. So I'm doing the first book because I ultimately just decided to do the book that introduces you to the world and the characters and the conflict, and I think it is a very good introduction to a series. This is a series about superheroes. You guys, I love superheroes. This is also a series that impacts me a bit because I remember when she was first coming out with this, and we got an excerpt, like a special sneak peek excerpt of the beginning of the book, and I specifically remember where I was, what I was doing when I first read this excerpt, and it has left such an impact on me. Next we have The School for Good and Evil by Soma Chainani, and I read this because I saw the movie, fell in love. I am the kind of person who will watch a movie or a series or something the first time, and if I fall in love with it enough, it becomes my new hyperfixation and I watch it over and over and over and over and over. So I decided that I obviously needed the books immediately. Highly recommend the books, by the way, and the movie, still on Netflix. I wish we would have gotten a sequel. I don't think it's in the cards. I digress. But I love the context that the book gives that the movie doesn't. But I do really still love the series, and I think about the series, and I think it is just a really good series. Next we have another duology, and I chose the first book specifically because, I'm not gonna lie, I think I like the first book a little bit better, but I think it's only because I like the premise a little bit better, but we definitely do get a really nice payoff and a really interesting continuation to the second book. But it is The Bone Charmer by Brianna Shields. It's such an interesting idea where reality has been split into two, kind of, and then we follow both realities and to see which one, what happens, and whether anything happens. It's just a really interesting idea, and actually it's just so interesting because if I remember right, it's two realities branching from the same moment in time, but one reality doesn't know that there's a second branch and the other one does. So I think it's such an interesting twist on a typical idea of branching realities and like butterfly effect sort of situation, and it was just so interesting. It's a very interesting premise, but then also the magic system, because she's a bone charmer, which literally means that she uses bones for magic, and then there are three kinds of bone charmers because they're the ones who can see the past and then the present and then the future, and it's something that runs in her family. So then we have that generational dynamic, and it's just so well done. Also, I'm not gonna lie, when I first bought this, I did not care about what the story was about. I liked the cover. I just really liked the cover. I think it's so beautiful. Next, we have a series that I absolutely want to reread soon. I've been wanting to reread it for maybe a couple years now, but I have Splintered by A.G. Howard. This is a sort of Alice in Wonderland retelling, tipping it on its head almost. It's like a gothic horror Alice in Wonderland retelling, and I think it's so good. If you like love triangles, you will also absolutely like this. She does such a fun thing with the love triangle. I remember reading it, and I just had never read something like this before, and that's definitely why it left an impact on me. But also, I am a Disney person. I love to watch the movies over and over and over again. But also, confession time, I've never read Alice in Wonderland. I have it. I have plans, but I've never actually read it. This next book is another trilogy that I've only read the first book of, but I actually have the entire trilogy for this one. But I remember reading it, and I just thought it was so interesting. Another thing that was like a typical situation, but done differently. And I think that's just so fun when that happens, when you have something that like can give you the idea that you know what's going to happen, but then actually veers differently and you don't know what's going to happen. I just find that so much fun. And that book is A Deadly Education by Naomi Novik. I thought it was so fun. There's a through line in this book that is so funny because at the end, one character's like, wait, this has been happening the whole time? And the other character's like, yeah. And like, we're with the other character, like, what? And it's just so funny because it's like comedic seriousness or like serious comedy. I'm not sure which. It's been a while since I read it. I'm not sure which one I would really put it as, and I am so excited to keep going. I would absolutely love to know what happens next, but also I want to keep going because I don't know what's going to happen next. Like, I cannot figure out what the next conflicts would be. Okay, next. This was another book that I was really unsure which specific book I wanted to feature, and I'll explain because I have Throne of Glass by Sarah J. Maas. Yes, I did in fact take this opportunity to brag about my best editions of books that I have more than one edition of because I absolutely am the person who takes them out of the case and the plastic and I look at the pretty books. Fun fact, I get the pretty books that are in these things, and then my sister gets the same one. She leaves them in the plastic because I take them out so she knows what they look like. Anyway, I have Throne of Glass. I was choosing between this book, Heir of Fire, and Queen of Shadows for various reasons. I really like the way that Heir of Fire gives us a lot of those questions answered that bothers a lot of people. I am not the kind of person who really gets bothered by not having answers to the questions immediately. I think it's actually so much more fun when you have to work for it and read more books to get there. I am also absolutely the kind of person who does not recommend reading The Assassin's Blade first, and that is probably one of the only times that I will ever really engage in that discourse. I think whenever I finally get back to the series, that's the only other time that I will engage in that discourse, but I don't ever want to go into it. I was choosing between Throne of Glass, Heir of Fire, Queen of Shadows. I like that Heir of Fire gives us answers to questions. I like that things are resolving, but then we are getting more context to the world in general and to our characters, and we are getting a lot of payoff, and I really like that. And then I like how in Queen of Shadows that payoff continues, and then things are just accumulating, and then we are getting so many good scenes. Like, some of my favorite scenes are probably from Queen of Shadows. Going back to Throne of Glass, though, this is the first book. I really like that it introduces you to things that you wouldn't have thought about until reading later, and I like how it's such an interesting premise. I think it's so well written and so well done. So I chose to just do Throne of Glass for two reasons, really. The first is that it's just the first book, and it's the Throne of Glass series, so it just works to accumulate for the series, but then it works as a favorite book for the series, I think. But then also, I just wanted to show off this edition. Okay, next book. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited for this next book, actually. Another book that you have seen on the channel. I have The Blonde Who Came In From the Cold by Allie Carter. Eee! This is specifically the arc that I got. My first ever arc. So this is partly because it's Ally Carter, partly because it's the arc. I also specifically chose this one rather than the first one, the Blonde Identity, because I do think this one is a little bit better. I don't think Ally Carter has ever written a book that for me would constitute calling it bad. I do think you can kind of tell with the Blonde Identity that it was her first time writing adults. But I think what she's done in The Blonde Who Came In From the Cold really shows that even if she's adapting to something new, she does it well, and she continues to do it well, and I think it is such a good book. There are so many good things going on here. There's spies, there's dual timeline. We see the same things in the dual timeline, and the juxtaposition is done so well, and just the relationships are built up so well. It's all done so well. So I chose this one specifically because, one, it's my first ever arc. It's an arc. I love it. But also because I think, for me, it is just a smidge better than the first one. We have another book that is going to be on the channel, but is not on the channel yet. And I'm so excited. And even in the video with it, I have said that I like this one the best in the series, and it is Cress, the third book of the Lunar Chronicles. It's the third book of the Lunar Chronicles by Marissa Meyer. I specifically like this one best because in the same way that Throne of Glass gives us these accumulating things and then the relationships all coming together in Queen of Shadows, we kind of get that same thing here in Cress. Like I said, it's the third book, so for 2 whole books we have relationships coming, we have relationships being built, and then in Cress we have all of these different relationships and all these different people finally coming together in the best way, and I find it so much fun. It really gives us the found family. I love found family, it's my favorite trope ever, but it really gives us the found family payoff that was built up for 2 books, and I think it's so good. It's so good. It's done so well. She's chonky, and it might have my favorite or my second favorite relationship of the series, because Cress is just so adorable, and Captain Carswell Thorne. If you know, you know. Next we have another series that I have not finished. I have all the books. I have the second generation books that have come out so far, and I have this special edition book. I have Shatter Me by Taheda Mafi. You guys. Hello, she's beautiful. Hello, she's beautiful. I remember reading this series. I bought the book, and this might have been a middle school series, actually. A lot of the books, I said high school, I lied. It was definitely more so middle school, because from the grades like 6 through 8, I was just chowing down on books, and they were just absorbing, and I said, you know what, I want to do that. So I have Shatter Me here. I love it so much. I love a good dystopian sci-fi situation, truly. I might even like it more than fantasy. I think sometimes this dystopian sci-fi situation might just be easier to handle with the world building than a full-on fantasy where you have to learn everything for the first time again. This is like the real world, just different lens. So I just find that really fun, and I love the way that we have an unreliable narrator, not because she's lying or she's trying to convince us that her story, her words are truth, but because she is literally crazy. I think that's so fun, and I love the covers. I know some people don't like the eyes. I like the eyes. I think that's so interesting, so different. Never seen that before, really, or at least not before Shatter Me, and bully me to get back to this series, to read this series, because I have them. They have their own shelf, and I still haven't finished them. Okay, we have the last book that's not Ally Carter, and then the last 3 books are all Ally Carter, so we are on to the 20th book, and yeah, it's me bragging again. I have Red Queen by Victoria Aveyard. Oh, this is so fun. Look at her. I have this same edition for Glass Sword. So Red Queen is red, Glass Sword is silver. And it is so cool. These two books were my first ever special edition books of some sort. I got them as a Christmas gift from my grandparents. And it was like, I was not prepared when I opened the box. I knew they were getting me books. I thought they were going to get me books that I didn't have. Nay. It's so pretty. You guys, it's literally drenched. Okay, it's a color drench. And then there's art. Say what? Say what? Now let me be honest. As much as I love this series, I've literally only read the first 2 books. I read the first 2 books when they were out, and then I think Glass Sword had been out for a few months or something, but the 3rd book wasn't out yet, and then by the time the 3rd book came out, I really wanted to reread the first 2 books, and then I just didn't. Time just kind of passed, and the next thing I knew, the series was over. Okay, now we're getting into the Ally Carter books. The last 3 Ally Carter books. I'm going to start with Uncommon Criminals. This is the 2nd book of the High Society series. I love it. This is an interesting series because she kind of tried to write it so that you could read it in whatever order you wanted. I'm not gonna lie, I recommend reading it at least the first time just in chronological order, regular publication order, purely because of the main romance, because there is a little bit of a build-up with that, but you could totally read it in whatever order after your first time reading it in order. But this is the 2nd book, and I specifically chose this one because the banter. It is the best. Oh my gosh. We get recurring characters from book 1 who also banter, but then we get a different element of that, a different layer of tension with that in book 2 for specific reasons, and it's just scrumptious. Diddly-umptious, you guys. It's the best. So this is a series about a family of thieves. Do you need anything else? Do you need any more context? It is young adult, I will give you that. And yes, this is a real person on the cover. It's the main character, so works. Next, we have a book that has many layers to why it is in this lineup. The first layer that I will tell you is that I have a few books. I have many books now that have been gifted to me for various reasons. I have a book that was gifted to me when I was in the hospital by a student doctor. I have books that were my payment for dog sitting. I have books that were birthday, holiday gifts. Witch Haven was my senior night gift. This book was bought for me by a complete stranger in Barnes & Noble because I didn't have enough money to get the 2 books that I was trying to get, which I was there with my mom and she literally could have lent me the money, but I just didn't go up to her after that had happened. I went back to look at more books first because I was like, I didn't really care. So I just kind of dilly-dallied away. I was like 12. And then this man comes up and he goes, oh my god, I was looking for you. And I was like, and he took the book out of his bag. He had bought the book for me. This complete stranger had seen me in line in front of him as a child buying books, but I couldn't afford this one, so he bought it for me. A complete stranger. Like, that is so, I'm not gonna lie, I probably looked a little bit like I was in poverty. I'm not afraid to go out in public in pajama pants, but this is See How You Run by Ally Carter. This is the 2nd book to the All Fall Down series. It's a very, very interesting series about kids who live on, like, Embassy Row, which is basically every country has the embassies for other countries where other country officials and, like, delegates usually stay. And this is about the children of those officials and delegates who stay in those embassy buildings. And it's so interesting because it's political, but it's not. Like, that's not the main conflict, but then it evolves, and it's just really, really interesting. And I chose specifically the 2nd one because of the payoff in the romances and the familial relationships. Book 1 does a lot of the setup work with the friendships and the conflict in the world, and it's really good. It's really interesting, and I love it. But I love that in book 2 we get those things a step further, as we should in a sequel. But I think I just really love the payoff because we get scenes that we wouldn't have gotten in book 1 that we want, and then we get them. And it's so good. It's so good. Which makes that book 22. So now, for book 23, if you can't guess, you're obviously new here, which is no shame. Let me educate you. Because this book is the last book specifically because it is the most impactful. Maybe not like my favorite, but because it is the most impactful, it is the one that is closest to my heart. It is the one that fills more of my heart. It is the one that I have 4 copies of. It is my first ever book that I got personalized. And it is called I Tell You I Love You, But Then I'd Have to Kill You by Allie Carter. So the personalization says we are the Sisters of Gilead, which is a thing in the books where they say that. This is a series about teenage girls who go to school to become spies. My plan had been to get each of the books in these specific covers because there are new covers out now. So I wanted to get the books in these specific covers in paperback because they don't have them in these covers in paperback anymore. And I was going to do the entire line that this comes from, one of each a part of the line in each of the books, and then that didn't happen, so book 2 doesn't really have that quite right, but that's okay. But this is like my number 1 most memorable, most impactful, most favorite book that I own, that I love. I would love to reread it. I really want to reread them on the channel. That makes it 23 books plus 2 honorable mentions because I just couldn't help myself. But that makes it 23 books for my 23rd birthday, which is so crazy. I just got the notification that my channel has actually been active for like 7 years, but I literally haven't been posting for many of those years. So that's wild. But I'm so excited. It's so nice to see all these books. It's so fun to go through your books and then you like are reintroduced to books that maybe you forgot you had or just haven't really paid mind to for a while. I'm so excited. I'm doing a lot of that kind of work right now where I'm just going through and seeing all my books again, going through and doing lots of things. There is going to be videos coming up where I'm reorganizing, I'm updating my reading systems, I'm unhauling, I am going through and cataloging everything for you guys where I genuinely go through every single book that I own. Yeah, I'm doing a lot of work. I have a lot of videos planned, a lot of videos that are filmed, and I am just really excited to do all this with you guys. And I'm so excited that I'm going to be doing this with you again, more, older, as I age. Why did I say it like that? That is it for this video. I am so excited. You could probably tell my favorite authors. This brings me so much joy. This brings me so much joy. Thank you for bringing me joy on my birthday. Well then, that does mean that this is the end of the video. I need to stop rambling because it is the end of the video. So, thank you so much for watching. I hope you liked it. I hope you liked the video. I hope you subscribe. I hope you maybe watch some of the other videos that I mentioned. No, that's also okay. Te aprecio mucho y mi corazón es tuyo para siempre. Adiós.